Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with the news today, your primetime destination news, newsmakers, talking points. Monday night, the big talking point from Manipur, a state that remains on the edge and in flames again. Who is to blame for the Manipur violence? Also the crackdown on our wrestlers. Is it justified or is it high-handed? We'll raise the questions that no other channel does. On the news today, the 9 headlines at 9. As Manipur remains on the edge, Home Minister Amit Shah to review the situation. Army cracks down on suspected Kuki militants. A murder most foul in the heart of Delhi. A teenager stabbed to death by a jilted lover, 20-year-old Mohammad Sahil, arrested by the Delhi police. Protesting wrestlers accused of rioting now. India Today accesses full FIR. Wrestlers won't be allowed again at Jantar Mantar for protests. Politics over the new parliament building rages on. Now Mamata Banerjee and RJD mock the Sengal and its installation ceremony. Say it's against India's scientific temper. Congress Chief Mallikarjun Kharge and Rahul Gandhi meet Ashok Gehlot. Meeting with Sachin Pilot also on. Can Kharge forge a truce for the Congress in Rajasthan between the warring camps? Delhi High Court issues a notice to Yasin Malik on an NIA plea seeking the death penalty. Notice to be served through a 3-hour jail authority. Chandrayaan-3 moon mission to be launched in July. ISRO satellite arrives at the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota. In Turkey, Erdogan wins a historic runoff election, extends his 2-decade rule by another 5 years amidst controversy. And a fresh twist to the Twitter saga under Elon Musk. Microblogging site could be forced to exit Europe after pulling out a voluntary EU disinformation code. But our top story tonight, Manipur, a state that's been on the edge now for weeks. After fresh violence hit Manipur on Sunday, the fact is that the violence shows no sign of ebbing. Kaching district is the worst hit in the latest round of violence. Reports vary on the number of people killed, but the Chief Minister of Manipur had said yesterday that 40 Kuki militants have died. Amidst the growing conflict between Meiteis and Kukis, the army has continued to crack down, capturing many suspected militants who have taken up arms. Why is Manipur caught up in a spiral of violence? Why is the state suddenly finding itself erupting in this violence? Tonight's top story is from Afrida Hussain on Manipur caught in violent times.
Manipur burns once again. Sugnu and Sirao villages in Kaching district bore the brunt as violence erupted on Sunday. A day later, India Today found the area still smoldering.
You can see that the bullets, handmade bullets are here, and you can see the landmines are over there. I will show you the situation out here, and you can see how the civilians are using the guns for the self-defense, and I will show you the landmines over here. This is the local made mines which they use during this whole violence.
People from both Meitei and Kuki communities are stranded in pockets. Security forces are moving them to camps. The security forces led by the Indian Army have cracked down on militants who sparked the latest round of violence. Many suspects have been arrested along with weapons like INSAS rifles and ammunitions. On Sunday, over 30 militants were killed by security forces during retaliatory and defensive operations.
Mass combing operations along with the helicopter surveillance has started. and we're trying to find out the culprits, those militants who are attacking the civilians.
The clashes in Manipur have spared no one. Over the last few days, angry mobs have targeted many lawmakers in the state, burning and vandalizing their homes. Residents in Imphal staged protest on Monday demanding peace.
We want peace in Manipur. We do not want Manipur to be divided into different groups.
Union Home Minister Amit Shah is visiting Manipur for the first time after violence broke out in the state. He has called for dialogue to resolve the tensions between the Meitei and Kuki communities. With Afrida Hussain in Imphal, Manipur, Bureau Report, India Today.
So why is Manipur caught in this spiral of violence? Can the centre and state government really shirk the blame? Are political parties now playing with fire in Manipur? Who will bridge the growing divide between the Meitei and the Kuki communities there? These are some of the questions. I'm joined by Hemochandra Singh, former Manipur Minister and Speaker, 5-time MLA. Bina Lakshmi Nepram, activist who's been raising her voice on issues concerning violence in the region. Thongokol Hoikip is Assistant Professor JNU and former advisor to the Kuki Students Organization. Rajat Sethi is a former advisor to Manipur's CM Biren Singh. And B.L. Vora, former Director General of Police, Manipur and Tripura. Appreciate each and every one of you joining us on the show tonight. I want to come to Hemochandra Singh because you are one of the senior most politicians of Manipur. And I want a non-partisan view from you. You've been associated with the Congress party, but I want to understand from you. Who do you hold responsible, accountable for this spiral of violence in Manipur?
Well, Rajdeep, thank you for delinking me with any party. I speak today as a concerned citizen of Manipur and probably to some extent as a very concerned Meitei. Although I have never in my public life have ever depended on symbolisms and all, but today I'm wearing a scarf which Prime Minister Modi has made very popular. And I feel I am actually personally an admirer of Modi ji. And in the past so many years, he has given a special recognition in his heart and all kinds of things. But what has come about in the last, from the time the violence erupted and the whole crisis came into focus, I've been watching everything very, very intently, and I'm bleeding, I'm bleeding literally to see that the violence is not abating at any point of time. In fact, when we thought that maybe, things would become normal, curfew's been relaxed, some semblance of normalcy is coming back. And suddenly, huge conflagrations, shootouts, burning down of villages, and as if, there's a deliberate plan, there's a deliberate plan. And the apathy, the most unfortunate, things which we are seeing is that the complete, inaction from the paramilitary forces, from the people who are supposed to be looking after law and order. 80 companies are here. Army, CRPF, and whatever you can say.
No, but Hemochandra Singh, the army says it's having a crackdown, that they will crack down on militant groups.
Rajdeep,
You've got the Home Minister. The Home Minister says he's going to spend the next 3 to 4 days in Manipur. When you say apathy, what do you mean?
By apathy, I mean it was the state has been burning for a month. Isn't it a case of far too late and little? What was the Home Minister doing? He came to Guwahati for some function for the Assam government. It is half an hour's flight to Imphal. He could have come. And I'm sure the Honorable Prime Minister is such a, he won our hearts by wearing this scarf and taking a dip at the Prayagraj at the Sangam. And whenever he has always had a very, very soft heart for Manipur. And I love him for that. But why is he so silent? He only spoke to one Arunachali girl and one boy in Tripura in Man Ki Baat yesterday. Not a single word from the Prime Minister, 1 month of stoic silence. And today, why the people of Manipur, especially the Meitei community today, Sero village has been burnt. 100 villages burnt in a day.
No, so
where
are you
all the
holding? No, 1 minute.
ammunition
You're saying to me that the Home Minister has been missing. Home Minister Amit Shah missing in action for a month. Too little, too late that he's moving now. You're saying the Prime Minister should have expressed his sympathy, condolences, solidarity with the people of Manipur. But you're again and again referring to the Meitei community. Are you saying this violence is one-sided? Because there are reports which are suggesting that Kuki militants are involved in the violence. On the other hand, Kukis are saying they are being targeted. I want you to hold on to what you're saying, because Mr. Haukip is from the Kuki community and is an advisor to the Kuki Students' Organization. What you're here seeing is a leader who's a 5-time MLA speaker saying that the violence effectively has targeted Meiteis. How do you respond, sir?
I think, every community, both who are engaged in this conflict, feels that they are being targeted. But, Manipur has a kind of democracy called ethnocracy, where you have a type of political structure which the state apparatus is controlled by a dominant ethnic group to further its interests. So you have the political structure, you control the political structure.
Are you denying that Kuki militants have been involved in the recent spate of violence? Are you denying that Kuki militant groups are now taking over and targeting Meitei's BJP MLA's house being burned down yesterday?
No, if the militant groups are involved in it, let them identify. The Chief Minister himself has said recently that they are in their camps. The arms are, properly kept in the, safe places. So what is he saying? So if he is claiming that militant groups are involved in this, kind of attack, let him show who are they, and then let the monitoring groups, look after the militant groups who are involved in it and identify them. So,
but are you denying that the role? Are you denying the role of Kuki militant groups?
No, there can be a possibility of militant groups involved because there are non-SOO groups, perhaps who are not within the bounds of the ground rules. So the Chief Minister is there. Let him look into the.
So you're saying you identify the group. Yes, very quickly, Hemochandra, and then I want to go to some of the other voices.
It is all for us to see very clearly, Rajdeep. It is as clear as day. These are not normal people. Sophisticated Kalashnikov rifles, AK-47 rifles, sniper rifles. These are absolute properly trained militants.
No, but who burned the churches? No, you see, the problem when there is ethnic violence, if you remember 2 weeks ago, some of the most dramatic images were of churches that had been burned, right? So that it's not as if the violence has been one-sided.
No, Rajdeep, I think we've done this narrative a long time. For 1 month, you've been very, very fair, and hats off to India Today. I've been watching every episode, whether it is Karan Thapar, whether it is anybody who's covering the issue. Let's not get into churches being burnt. Let us not get into temples being burnt. That is not the issue. See, we can go into all this rhetoric, and we don't have that much of time on primetime Indian primetime media. And it has been all distorted. Today, at the receiving end, it is the Meiteis at the moment. Villages are burnt. It is not.
So you're saying at the moment, I take your point, and we want.
Are you getting the larger picture, Rajdeep?
Yeah, no. Look, it's not about the blame game. It's about the fact that ever since the High Court.
Let's not do this blame game, because this is not going to get us anywhere.
Okay, let's not do a blame game, but someone else.
As if by design, the violence is escalating, and in a very organized fashion. That is very disturbing.
Okay,
especially at the time when the Home Minister is visiting the state.
You're saying the violence is escalating by design. Your point is taken. I want Beena Lakshmi Nepran to respond, because Beena Lakshmi, what we are seeing is the people of Manipur seem to be caught in an escalating conflict. Now, it all started a month ago with a High Court order that effectively was giving Meiteis scheduled tribe status, and ever since then, it appears various vested interest groups have taken over, and you have Kukis versus Meiteis on the ground now.
Yes, Rajdeep. First of all, I would like to share that the identity of each and every human being in Manipur, in India, in the world, our identity is a source of pride, our joy, that should be celebrated. In today's Manipur, that identity has been weaponized to ensure that we are, for the last 25 days, that the entire state of Manipur has been suffering. At the same time, it is also very, very clear that with
Now, what do you mean by identity has been weaponized? May I just ask you, what do you mean by identities have been weaponized?
Absolutely. People of Manipur have been Manipuris. But right now, there's a wedge drawn amongst our ethnic indigenous lines in a way that has not happened before. So I would like to say right now, the attempts to break Manipur, the attempts to ensure that this entire, ethnic fabric of Manipur has been ripped apart, the breaking of Manipur will start the process of a breaking of a nation, of the country.
No, but let's be clear, ma'am, with due regard, it's not the first time it's happened. There was a peace for a sustained period of time. That High Court order, which gave the Meiteis ST status, seems to have sparked off some of the old divides that existed.
Yes, absolutely. As I said, also in your show earlier, there are deep grievances. India just got independence in 1947. Manipur joined in 1949. We are still a very young nation. And many of our ethnic communities are still learning how to live with each other. And as a result, and of course, the colonial divide and rule policy started with the British, continued the Indian government, as ensured that the hill and the valley, the Hindus, the Muslims, the Christians, and all are divided. Manipur has gone through 3 levels of colonization. In this 18th century, when Vaishnavism was introduced, then when the British came in 1891, and when the government of India took over. So there has been many, many layers. And we have 34 beautiful indigenous groups in Manipur and over 400 across the northeast of India. And we still haven't learned what is happening. And of course, there are these grievances, that's why our goal as women groups, our peace appeal has to ensure that we should have a truth-telling, a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, not just for Manipur, but for the entire northeast of India, so that Kukis, Nagas, Meiteis, in Tripuris, everybody, because right now, I'm very sorry to say, it is the exclusion of women in the 17 peace talks in northeast of India, the exclusion of women in political process,
Ma'am, I want to stop you for a moment. We'll come to that, but you raised a point about weaponization of identities, and that is worrying. Mr. Haukup, Professor Haukup, you want to quickly respond, because there is also a belief that the cookies today, pushed to the wall as they claim, are hitting back with violence. Surely that's inexcusable.
When the so-called cultural groups masquerading as cultural groups are given free hand, thousands of weapons looted for the second time yesterday. Weapons are proliferating in the hands of common people. India Today also reported that the surrendered militants now carry all those guns, thousands of them, and targeting the Koki village. What option do we have? My village itself, it has been targeted, bombarded with 3-inch mortar, like the situation in Bosnian genocide. All owners of my village, the village defenders have been, the Chief Minister has branded all those village defenders as terrorists. So what do we have? We have a situation.
So you're saying, let me get this clear for our viewers. You're saying yours is a Kuki-dominated village. It was targeted with mortars, and today your villagers who are defending the village are being branded as terrorists. Am I correct? That's what you're saying.
So we are close to Bosnian genocide right now.
Okay, you're using a word genocide. You're suggesting that what is happening to the Kukis, Rajat Sethi, what seems to have happened is that the Chief Minister has played with fire. I was in Manipur last year covering the elections, and there were reports that the Kukis were being used. Kuki militants were used by the BJP at the time to win that election in certain parts. It was an election where you played with fire. And today that fire has come to singe you after that High Court order last month. Do you agree that the government of the day has played with fire by arming these groups? Where are all these arms coming from?
Well, Rajdeep, I'm sorry to say, but your understanding of Manipur is very shallow. That's point number one.
That's okay.
Number two is that you don't have to
accusation.
just go there. No, sir, it's not an accusation. You go there for 2 days and you draw conjectures based on 2-day visit, sir.
No, sir, there have been detailed reports that people from the ground have done on Manipur saying during the last election militant groups were used.
you go there on dinner festivities and lunch festivities, that is not how you understand a state. You have to live there, live the reality over there to understand that state.
So you tell me, where are the guns coming from? Where are the guns coming from?
Oh, sir, I will tell you everything. Allow me time to speak, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
First point is that I'm really appalled when, Professor Khwairakpam, when he said that what option do we have? I have a lot of Kuki friends over there. We have worked closely for the past 5 years to ensure that there is stability and peace in that state. But, if miscreants and terror outfits who are being normalized by the Kuki intelligentsia, like Professor Khwairakpam sitting here, how do you even see a roadmap of peace going forward? My big worry is that when you start to say that we don't have any other option but to channelize these militant groups, even from across the border, there are 10 active insurgent groups, which are Kuki insurgent groups, working, sitting on the hilltops and shooting with a sniper on the Meitei communities and villages who are living in the villages on the foothills. There are 2 phases of violence. First violence happened in the first week of May. Kukis were targeted in the Imphal Valley then. I accept that, and I'm being a neutral arbiter here. But what has happened for the past 3 days in the villages in Sugnu and in Kakching areas has been pointedly carried out by Kuki terror groups, terror outfits who have these semi-automatic and automatic machine guns and AK-46, 56s and AK-47s with ammunition being supplied even from across the border, all financed through poppy cultivation and drug money that was funneled into the state for a very long period of time. All of this has culminated together into the Kuki militants having access to these weaponry.
Is it true that some of the point, I take your point, and I'm glad, Rajat, you've given us a very clear chronology. I take your point of giving a very clear chronology. I only ask you this. These very militant groups reportedly were used during the election campaign of 2022. Yes or no?
Give me an example. Give me a proof, Rajdeep. Please give me a proof. Because you are accusing something which is very serious. It is serious to the extent
I'll pick it up from where Rajat is talking. The argument is going haywire.
Yeah, go ahead, Hemochandra. Yes, what do you want to say?
Let me for a change be in between Rajat and you. But I absolutely agree with Rajat Sethiji for this point of view. Because see, let us be pragmatic. You covered Manipur very extensively. I was there with you. See, this is not a time to start getting into the genesis of history and blah blah and all that. What Rajat is saying is very pertinent. It is about national security today. Today you are talking about Dragunov sniper rifles. You're talking about tons of ammunitions. We have a porous border with Burma. We have an international issue. So what is happening today has exploded beyond what we could imagine.
So what were these groups? Hemochandra Singh, 1 minute. What were these groups? No, 1 minute, sir. What were one of the achievements of the government of Mr. Biren Singh in his first 5 years was to ensure relative peace. Why suddenly have these groups again got active? What has changed?
See, Rajdeep will have tons and tons of time to, bash governments and have this debate over a period of time. That is not the reason why I've come to your show to talk and not to, slug it out as if like a political session.
No. So what has changed? I'm asking you what has changed.
Allow me to finish it. What I'm concerned about, Rajdeep, at this point of time, and I have deep respect for you. You've at least given this prime time, air to all of us, so that I'm very sorry to say this, that Meiteis have also been demonized beyond, the culture we have, the Vaishnav Dharma, the so-called liberal attitude with whom we have lived for centuries, not with just the Kukis, with everybody, has been totally finished. And last words again for this present section, as Rajat has rightly said, it is appalling to hear very, very nice, well-read citizens from the Kuki community. I don't want to name them. They are like some of them are childhood friends with whom I've grown up, and they are now talking in terms of total separation, ethnic cleansing. Please be very careful about using such words.
Okay,
And we can all come in together.
okay, you made the point. Let Professor Haukip respond.
I hope the larger picture.
Yeah, okay. Let him respond. Professor Haukip, you have said on this program that there was a genocide. That's a very serious word.
How will Mr. Haukip respond? They're using things like genocide, ethnic cleansing, separation is complete. Is there an agenda? Are they part of the agenda?
Okay.
Are they part of the instigators?
Yes, Professor Haukip.
For the last 7 days, there has been the firing of Kuki villages, which were hardly reported. And it's
the firing has been going on to us, not to you guys.
In Shugnu and somewhere else, the national.
You have your facts very clear. The firing is on villages.
Producer, let us not on this show make this Kuki versus Mehta in a TV studio. The fact is both communities have suffered, and that is the reality. And therefore, keeping that reality in mind, keeping that BL Vora, how do you, as a former Director General of Police of Manipur and Tripura, this has been a state which had relative peace. It was an achievement of the Biren Singh government, one of the reasons why it got re-elected. What explains the resurgence according to you? Just a court order?
Rajdeep, court order, yes, though it was misread by people. But most important thing, you see, Manipur is a very difficult state. You have three major communities there, Nagas, Kukis and Meiteis. Now here, all the communities, they have their own legitimate aspirations. And I think it was political pragmatism which failed. Surely there were intelligence reports. See, Meiteis didn't have ST status for a very long time, though they have been demanding it. They had the OBC status only. So Kukis had ST status, Nagas had ST status. So this demand has been going on. Now I think surely the state government knew what is going to happen. So I think one is a political failure, if you ask me. Second is the administrative failure by the administrations and police and security forces. And third, of course, citizens also. Now, the point is, Kukis, they were feeling more hurt because of 2-3 reasons. One was, they were evicted from some villages because forest area, survey was going on. This was one. Then Rohingyas coming, the allegation was that they sheltered them. That was another one. Then, of course, churches and all. So, situation is really bad. But I think that they were lacking in effort, lacking in swiftness. And as you know, when the problem started,
sir, let me just take what you're saying. What you're saying is that there have been these grievances that have been bubbling over, and Rajat Sethi,
absolutely,
I come to the question that for 5 years, the Biren Singh government was successful in bringing an element of peace. What has changed, and did the government fail to anticipate the extent of anxiety that exists among the Kuki community as well, that they will be overrun by Meiteis? That's the reality.
Absolutely.
The government needed to act, and that's where they should have, and they've ended up playing with fire.
Absolutely.
Well,
I think you have hit the nail on the head.
I don't understand that being overrun by Meiteis in what context? Population size wise, how, which way? If you say the tribal status will allow Meiteis to overrun that, then that's a separate debate. Because then you have to get into the nitty-gritties of who qualifies for a tribal status and who doesn't.
Sure.
But I can tell you for the past 5 years, it was Biren Singh's government whom, I was advising, and we all designed programs to reach out to the absolute last person standing, be it Nagas or Kukis, to ensure that the government facilities and services reach to them. It was a pleasant surprise. I still remember in the Congress regime when Ibobi used to be attacked by the Kukis, 6 dead bodies were lying in the morgue for 2 years. They were not buried in Churachandpur district. We ensured peaceful resolution of that. There was so much amount of trust that was built in over times. But please understand that you don't have a monolith state like UP, Bihar, Maharashtra, where you have one community largely speaking. Here you have 3 communities of good proportion, all entangled into these zero-sum problems, and you know that this is a tinderbox because ultimately you have too many issues coming together all in one place, and it was just waiting for one spark to rekindle, and that is what happened here. The problem is that those confidence-building groups, those outreach with the civil societies, everything collapsed all at the same time. And I think over here, when Amit Shah ji is there, for the next three days, it is critical that First of all, the militant outfits of the cookies will have to stop firing indiscriminately. Second, the Meitei common people who have taken up police arms will have to relinquish that and allow the peace to start. Third thing is that Amit Shah ji will have to reach out to both the communities of Meiteis on one side and cookies on the other side and bring them to a common ground.
Okay.
He will have to really work very hard to find that very narrow common ground between the two communities that is left, and that is his political deftness to basically identify that common area. Otherwise, the state is in a very, very bad scenario right now.
Hemochandra Singh, is it possible to overcome this
Rajdeep,
mistrust?
I'll be very brief. I think we are coming on course. It's on a better scale now. But I'll still caution Rajat, I respect him as a friend also, and as a person who has actually stayed with us and worked with us. But see, don't take names now. This is not a time to take somebody's name, Ibobi or Biren or somebody. Desist from that. It will level down it is.
No. So can the trust deficit be overcome?
No. For Rajat Sethi should not forget that there are 100 bodies lying in the mortuaries for 1 month, not buried, not cremated yet. So let's not get into what his government did in Chodachandpur, burying 5 bodies and all. This is not a time to, take.
Can the trust deficit be overcome?
Briefly, because you'll have to give time to the others as well, to Mr. Haukip as well. See, in a nutshell, to end, this is not a time to, slug it out, whether it was the ST, what was the genesis. And by the way, what is the harm in the Meiteis demanding ST status? This is a demand. The Nagas are asking for a greater Nagaland under the democratic process, under the umbrella of democracy. People can ask. This is a legitimate right. ST status, giving ST status is a long drawn process.
Okay, so Professor Haukip, what's the harm?
What's the big deal?
Okay, what Professor Haukip? Just a minute, sir.
Please, let me complete. Just 30 more seconds.
Yes.
And why has it been all twisted? Why has it been all mixed up? What about narco-terrorism? What about poppy plantations? What about even Mr. Biren Singh? To my mind, although he is the demon today, he's been demonized, he's been pinned to the wall. But also, he has also made some sincere efforts to finish poppy plantations, finish encroachments in the reserve forest areas.
Okay, let Professor Haukip, let's hear a
doubts
cookie
of
voice as well, sir. Let's hear the cookie. They have their own concerns. Some poppy cultivation. Professor Haukip, the cookies will also have to reach out to others. What is the real what is your biggest grievance today?
I think right now, why this violence is continuing is probably the Nekoil withdrawal of SPA, for instance. In the hill areas, the armed groups have come under, suspension of operations, but AFSPA is still in post. But AFSPA is taken away from Imphal Valley, where most of the militants are demanding separation from Indian state. And during these riots, the army is unable to control these radical groups. They are with automatic rifles looted from police stations and other colleges. So this has to be once again recovered, and to recover that or to do that, you have to give power to the armed forces.
Are you willing to have a dialogue? Are you willing to have a dialogue with the Chief Minister, with the Home Minister?
We can have a dialogue with the Home Minister, but not with the Chief Minister, who is only propagating only one, a kind of ideology or one kind of sentiment.
Okay, so you're saying, and this is a worry, therefore, that you've got a situation of this mistrust on the ground. A final word from you, Beena Lakshmi. Do you believe ordinary citizens will eventually tire of this violence? This is Manipur returning to the worst days of the past, something we thought the state had put behind it.
Yes, absolutely, Rajdeep. I think this is where we are in touch. Throughout the 1 month of violence, we have been in touch with our Kuki mothers, with the Meitei mothers, with mothers across the Northeast, issuing a peace appeal, because right now, it's men who own the guns. It's men who are slogging out. We haven't even spoken about. But I think for the ways ahead, our peace appeal are talking for a Truth and Reconciliation Committee. We have lost trust. We have lost trust in those who are supposed to protect the rights on each and every community in my state. Why has this? This has to be restored. And the ruling party must ensure that the confidence of every Kuki, every Meitei, every Naga. And by the way, Manipur is not just Meitei Naga Kuki. It has 34 indigenous groups.
Yeah, but the
Smaller,
first
smaller
step towards that
Number
is
one.
disarming
Number
them.
two,
The first step
lay
is
down your arms.
The first step
We
is
are
for
asking,
everyone to
please,
lay down their
whoever,
arms.
Rajdeep, please ask all warring parties, lay down your arms. We cannot have a community, we cannot build our democracies where arms are rampant in our communities, when there is, right now, Manipur is now being a part of the Golden Triangle, Golden Pentagon, producing 10% of the world's heroin. We haven't even spoken about what happened in Burma and the implication. In fact, the war in Myanmar has now crossed over to Manipur. This is a national security issue, and we call upon all like-minded people to look into the issue. Do not demonize, do not name any community. Cookies, Meiteis, Nagas, we have to live together.
You know, those are
We
fine words, ma'am. I take your sentiment, but the fact is the first thing towards that is every group agreeing to lay down arms. The kind of arms that are there make it almost impossible at the moment to ensure a peaceful resolution. That is the first step. That's the first challenge in a way before the armed forces which are doing this crackdown and before Home Minister Amit Shah, who is now in Manipur. It's a challenge in a way for Mr. Shah. Should he have moved in earlier? There can be different views on that. But clearly, the government, both at the center and the state, needs to really wake up to what's happening in Manipur. I appreciate all my guests joining me here on the news today. Let's turn from there to another flashpoint, this time in the national capital. The fiery wrestler versus Delhi police face-off that took place yesterday. Sporting heroes Vinesh Fogart, Sakshi Malik and Bajrang Punia, remember, along with 12 other protesters, now booked by the Delhi police. They've been booked for rioting, obstructing public servants and gatherings in large numbers despite Section 144 being in place. The FIR mentions that the Delhi police had alerted them that their protest would hamper the new Parliament building inauguration that was taking place. Let's listen in therefore and move on and find out, was the police justified or was it heavy-handed? Listen in. So was the Delhi police justified in its crackdown on the women wrestlers who are protesting? Joining me now is Neeraj Kumar, former commissioner of Delhi, and I'm also joined by Anjali Bhardwaj, social activist, who was part of the group that was backing the wrestlers in their protest. Appreciate both of you joining us. Neeraj Kumar, purely from the optics, when we saw those images of those wrestlers being dragged away from the protest site as they were attempting to move towards Parliament, could it have been handled better? Would you concede that all of this could have been avoided?
Rajdeep, on the face of it, unquestionably, the images are very unedifying, very disturbing, rather revolting, and it appears that they could have been avoided. But I guess if we see the images of what preceded this incident and what has been happening in the past, and look at the bigger picture, perhaps the action taken by the police was inevitable.
No, but could they have stopped? Could they have stopped the rest? Could they have stopped the protesters ab initio at the very site itself? They could have ring-fenced it and prevented a situation where there was any kind of confrontation. Was that possible?
Theoretically, yes, but then the question would have been that they have been denied the right to demonstrate, they have been denied the right to their democratic right to proceed, to show their dissent, etc., etc. So they were told that at so-and-so place they'll be stopped, following which they would be arrested or detained.
Okay, so in a way, you're saying this is standard operating procedure that the police does take in cases like this. It was inevitable to that extent. Anjali Bhardwaj, as an activist who was supporting these wrestlers, the truth of the matter is there were prohibitory orders in place there. Parliament, the new Parliament building was being inaugurated. The march, in a way, was seen as an act of defiance. Now, you know as well as anyone, when there is a political protest from Jantar Mantar to Parliament, the police will stop it and take people into custody. Why is it then that you and others seem to believe that the police action was excessive in some manner?
Look, Rajdeep, I think we cannot talk about this without talking about the larger issue of police accountability. We are talking about a situation where there are women. Yes, there happen to be wrestlers who have, brought the country fame and they have won medals, but it could be any woman in the country. There are women, including minors, who are saying that there has been sexual abuse, there has been sexual harassment, and the police is refusing to file an FIR. That is where the whole thing began. The protests began. They had to come here in January to protest and were assured that an FIR would be filed. Nothing was done. They had to come back to the streets, approach the Supreme Court of India. What? To just get an FIR filed in such a grave offense where there is an accusation. Now, I think that first we need to understand that what has been the police's whole action and the context in which all of this is happening. So
no, because the FIR, with due regard, the FIR has now been filed and investigation is on. The FIR has been filed. The investigation
Rajdeep,
is on. The police say, let the law take its own course. You can't demand the arrest.
The FIR was filed not by the law taking its own course as it should have in a civilized democracy. They had to come out to the streets, they had to approach the Supreme Court to have the FIR filed. Now that the FIR has been filed, their basic minimum demand is of holding proper inquiries, of holding an investigation, and where if in the normal course of things with a law like a POCSO Act, which we have, where a minor is involved and there is an accusation of sexual abuse of a minor, in that sort of a situation, should charge sheets not have been filed? Should there not have been an arrest of the accused? The reality is that the accused happens to be a very powerful personality, a very senior functionary, a member of parliament, and the police is not doing what it is required to do. Just look at the alacrity with which the police has filed FIRs yesterday against the wrestlers and compare it to the action that the police took against Brij Bhushan. So I think what A, we need to understand is the context. B, I think there is the larger issue of the right to protest in our country. We are a democracy, Rajdeep, and in a democracy, what really sets a democracy apart from any other authoritarian regime is that citizens have the right to protest. These wrestlers have a right to protest. They feel that
they have a right to protest. Do they have a right to march to parliament when there are prohibitory orders in place that you cannot gather in large numbers? There is a government function going on inside parliament.
Rajdeep, if anyone has tried to apply for a permission, you would know that the police, the Delhi police, does not give permissions on time. There isn't permission given to hold protests in a proper, dignified manner. These are all peaceful protests. These people have not undertaken any violent actions. Yes, if they did ask for permission or they did let it be known that they want to march to a place where there was a public function happening, there was the inauguration of the new parliament, but I think that they could have been handled much better. The police could have stepped in, they could have reasoned with them, given them an appropriate time to actually march there, because we have to understand that the kind of crackdown on protests that we are observing in our country, please don't forget, we have had a whole history of protests, whether it was the Nirbhaya movement or it was at the time of the Lokpal. Thousands, lakhs of people took to the streets, and all of it was done without the kind of crackdown and the kind of action that we saw and the visuals that we saw emerging yesterday.
Okay, your point is taken. As a final word, Neeraj Kumar, could the police, which appears by all indications to have been virtually goaded into action against Brij Bhushan Saran Singh to file an FIR only after the Supreme Court steps in, could they have been handling all of this better over the last 4 or 5 months? There are serious charges of sexual harassment. Complaints are being made. The police initially was seen to be reluctant to file an FIR. Therefore, the role of the Delhi police does come under question. Is the Delhi police, under instructions from the government and the powers that be, treating these wrestlers in a manner where a deputy commissioner of police calls them anti-nationals?
Rajdeep, I'm not privy to all the inside information, and I'm not privy to the exact sequence of events and whether or not the FIR was filed on time and could have been filed earlier. But suffice it to say that the overall image that the police have got in the wake of these events has not been very positive and could have been much better. And there ought to have been regular communication between the Delhi police and the media and the public that they were doing everything that was possible and everything that was expected of them to be done. However, that has not been done. That is what I feel too. And I think it is the lack of communication between the police and the public that has landed the police in such a sorry situation where it is being viewed as an unsympathetic force.
But do you accept my point that the police simply acts on the instructions of their political leadership?
No, that may not be true. That may not be true. They have to go step by step. They have to take talking about the investigation, for instance. They have gone to every spot. They have spoken to all the eyewitnesses. They have collected all the CCTV footage. They have collected technical data. And no, they would file the charge sheet once the time is appropriate.
Right.
But, we have to wait and
so
see.
So you're saying, der hai, andher nahi hai, have some faith in the police. Anjali Bhardwaj is der hai, andher nahi hai is what the police is claiming. Hopefully, our wrestlers will get justice. Those optics of wrestlers being dragged, not the best advertisement for our democracy. Let's take a break. On the other side, murder most foul in the heart of the capital. A teenager stabbed to death by a jilted lover. The worst thing, passers-by just watch and don't intervene. We'll have more on the other side.
Where the software engineer meets the cool UI UX designer, meets the gifted content writer. To create the big dream, the world comes together at Sharda University. So where are you?
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Where the software engineer meets the smart market analyst, meets the talented photographer. To create the big dream, the world comes together at Sharda University. So where are you?
Why does this happen? Let me tell you the science behind it.
For more informative videos like this, keep watching India Today News Mode.
Let's turn now to a crime that will shock the conscience of each and every one of you. A 16-year-old girl's murder. Sakshi was stabbed repeatedly in front of many people and then she was bludgeoned to death. The tragedy is not a single person tried to stop the killer. The police have arrested the suspect, who's been identified as one Mohammad Sahil from Bulandshahr in Uttar Pradesh. Tonight's special report. Take a look.
She was brutally stabbed over 20 times. Her head bludgeoned with heavy boulder over 5 times. The demonic Delhi murder has numbed India. The gruesome murder caught on camera shows a minor, 16-year-old Sakshi, getting stabbed repeatedly by her killer, Sahil, at Delhi's Shahbad Dairy area on Sunday night. The gory images on CCTV show Sahil intercepting Sakshi over spurning his overtures. Sahil then starts stabbing her like a maniac. He stabbed her on the head, chest, shoulder and back. He didn't stop even when his knife got stuck in Sakshi's skull. As Sakshi slumped to the ground, Sahil kept stabbing her. Not content with the stabbing spree, Sahil then picked up a large boulder and repeatedly smashed Sakshi's head. Several passers-by ignored Sakshi's screams and chose to walk away without helping her.
काफी भीड़ लगी हुई थी, हम लोग आए उधर से तो कह रहे थे यहाँ किसी को मार के फेंक दिया है कुछ लड़कों ने और वो भाग गए। तो उसके बाद हम लोग भी आए, काफी देर तक भीड़ थी, काफी देर तक लड़की पड़ी थी, करीब आधा पौने घंटे वो लड़की यहीं पड़ी थी। पुलिस के आने के बाद जब फॉरेंसिक आई तो उसके बाद वो देखी।
After India Today report caused a massive outrage, cops arrested 20-year-old Sahil, a fridge repair technician from UP's Bulandshahr near Delhi, after a massive manhunt. Images of Sahil accessed by India Today showed him with a human skull tattooed to his chest.
साहिल नाम का एक लड़का है, ये बच्ची 16 साल की है। साहिल नाम का एक लड़का है जिसकी उम्र लगभग 20 बरस है। पहले से जानकारी थी और कुछ अनबन हो गई थी और उस बात को लेकर जब बच्ची एक जगह से किसी अपने दोस्त के यहाँ रुकी हुई थी, जब वापस आ रही थी तब उसको रास्ते में घेरकर उससे बहुत सारे कई बार चाकू से वार किया और पत्थर से उसका सर कुचल दिया।
Sakshi's inconsolable parents sought death penalty for Sahil, calling him a beast.
कल एक लड़की के घर बर्थडे था, उसी वो बर्थडे का सामान खरीद के लेके आई है बाजार से, चप्पल वप्पल नया सब कुछ खरीदी है। उसके बाद बाजार में फिर वापसी गई है। उसके बाद बोली मैं शौचालय जा रहा हूँ, शौचालय से आ रही हूँ। उसके बाद उसको पता नहीं किसने मार दिया, मुझे नहीं पता।
चाकू तो उसको ऐसा लग रहा है पूरी अतड़ी पतड़ी बाहर लग गई सर, उसने 4-5 बार चाकू मारा होगा सर।
अच्छा, क्या जो आपकी बेटी है साक्षी क्या करती थी, कितनी उसकी उम्र है?
सर वो 16 साल की उसकी उम्र है सर, वो अभी 10वीं क्लास में पास हुई थी सर।
This is the very place where that unfortunate murder took place in full public glare. Now Sakshi was attacked 21 times, which is captured in the CCTV visuals by a knife. The person in concern, the accused, Sahil, he did not stop it there. He then continued to kick her for 3 times, then picked up a slab and then again bludgeoned her for 5 times. The entire incident has been captured in the very CCTV camera.
The chilling crime brings back horrific memories of the Shraddha murder and how it shocked India. With Arvind Ojha, Shreya Chatterjee and Rajesh Khatri in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
3 months ago, there was a case of another Sahil who killed his girlfriend and then cut her body into pieces and stored it in a fridge. Now we have this shocker of another Sahil. All of them must get exemplary punishment. Think about it. Thanks for watching. Stay well, stay safe. Good night. Shubh Ratri. Namaskar.